So good morning, everyone, and thanks for being here. We'll get started, and want to introduce the mayor of our city, Mayor London Breed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome. I see our public defender, Jeff Adachi, is here. Thank you for attending, as well as our police chief and the command staff, the leadership of the San Francisco Police Department. And I'm excited to be here, and I want to thank the police department for hosting this overview about the progress we've made in improving public safety throughout San Francisco this past year, and what challenges that we face in this upcoming year. The progress would have not been possible without all the hard work done by the San Francisco Police Department, as well as the Street Violence Intervention Program and community members working together in neighborhoods to collaborate to make our community safer. To effectively address our most pressing issues, our police departments and our communities will continue to work together. They're working hard to implement some of the important, effective community policing efforts. This includes one of my top priorities, which I know Chief Scott shares, and that is beat patrol officers throughout our city, especially in our commercial corridors. When people see officers walking in their neighborhoods, they feel safer, and they develop a connection, a personal relationship with those officers. Yes, the presence of these officers can't help stop crime alone, but it does build community trust. Our police district captains also help build trust by working with our community leaders to help address the issues in our neighborhoods for all residents. And as someone who served as an executive director of a nonprofit organization, I could tell you how important the relationships I had with so many of my captains in the northern station, and many of them actually currently serve on the command staff, amazing leaders for this department who continues to develop and retain those community relations. As we grow our community policing efforts, we need to continue to make sure that our police department has the resources and the services to protect and engage with our residents. This includes our ongoing plan to make sure that we hire another 250 police officers. We want to make sure that everyone is working together to keep our city safe, and that's what community policing is all about. Since taking office in July, I've focused on a number of efforts to improve public safety. Particularly, people have noticed in the Tenderloin, the South of Market, and the Mid-Market areas, there's been a noticeable presence of beat officers, the mobile the mobile van control, is that what it's called, Chief? The command post located in UN Plaza to support these areas. We are increasing the number of foot beat officers, as well as the number of drug arrests, and the chief will talk a little bit more about some of those efforts. These, we know, are some of our most challenging areas, and we are committed to making sure that we address what we know are issues that people in this city continue to be frustrated with. I'm continuing to make sure that I'm on the front lines out there on a regular basis, reaching out to the chief, reaching out to some of our other city departments to ensure that they know that not only am I paying attention, but I'm listening and hearing from so many of the residents of the city who want to see us address this issue. I know Chief Scott will go over the 2018 numbers shortly in more detail, but I just want to highlight some of the trends, because I think too often we focus on what's wrong with San Francisco, or what's wrong with what's happening with some of the crime that exists. But today we're going to talk about the achievements and what's right, and what we've been able to accomplish by working together. First, we saw a significant drop in homicides, the lowest that it's been in 4 years. And we know that although one loss of life is one loss too many, that is really an incredible accomplishment. This corresponds with a significant drop in gun violence for the second year in a row. Now, every homicide, as I said, is tragic, but we have to recognize the progress that we made. Our police officers have been successful at getting guns off our street, which is helping us to prevent gun violence, which also includes working closely with the street violence intervention programs and also assisting with gun buybacks and some of the arrests that they've made as well. Fewer weapons, stronger community outreach, that's how we're going to continue to reduce violence in our city. We also saw a focus by this department on attacking the epidemic of auto burglaries. This year, we saw a significant drop, though I know we still have work to do. In fact, even with these good numbers overall, we know we have to work across the city because we still have challenges, and more importantly, we don't want one San Franciscan to be a victim of crime. Now, I know our our officers are working hard. I know Chief Scott is working hard, and I know that we're going to continue to make progress on many of these very important issues, and we want everyone in our city to feel safe in their communities. I want people to feel and see a difference in San Francisco. Again, I want to thank Chief Scott and the leadership of the San Francisco Police Department, as well as so many amazing community members like the Street Violence Intervention Program, as well as United Players under Rudy Corbis. I mean, working together with all of these great programs and community members will continue to keep our city safe. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'll turn it back over to Chief Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. So as the mayor said, we're really pleased with the trends we're seeing, particularly in violent crime. As most of you probably know, our department publishes a monthly CompStat report, which provides a snapshot of where we are with crime. As you can see on the posters to my right, we're doing pretty good, or we did pretty good in 2018. Homicides down 18%. Homicides by firearms were down 37%. Non-fatal shooting incidents were down 30%. And aggravated assaults dropped 3%. And thanks to the hard work of the men and women of the San Francisco Police Departments that work our streets, our investigative units, and all of our bureaus, through the hard work that they put in, at great risk to their own personal safety, to protect the people of this city, we would not be where we are today. And I also want to thank the leadership of the San Francisco Police Department, many of which who are standing to my left here on the wall, because this is a total team effort. So thank you for what you do. We believe that these are good numbers, but we have a lot of work to do. You know, we had 2 homicides at the end of the year, and we started the year off with 3 homicides already this year, 4 actually. And we know that, you know, I sit here and I talk in numbers, but these are lives that we're talking about, and these are families. And we want to do our best to stay in front of this and prevent these crimes from occurring rather than react to them. That's why a large part of our strategy will continue to be preventive rather than reactive policing. It's our goal to prevent crime before it happens. And in doing so, we want to work with the community members and the faith leaders, and as the mayor mentioned, SVIP and the intervention workers and all the people that make this city a great city to continue to build confidence in public safety and continue to keep crime down and reduce it even further. We know this works in our city, and we know it because we've seen it. We've seen how it works. The mayor mentioned foot patrols, and I want to thank her for her leadership, for fighting for the budget to increase the staffing of the police department, and for making foot patrols a priority, because we know that that type of policing for this city is the right thing to do. We stepped it up in 2018, and we'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to do that through 2019. We want to be more visible. We want to get more officers on the streets, and we want to strengthen those bonds with the community so we can communicate better with San Franciscans to make our city the safest city in this country. This has increased, really, our ability to do our jobs. And it's evident in the work that was mentioned by the mayor in UN Plaza. We put a command post vehicle out there, but more importantly, the foot patrol staffing was increased, the interaction with the community was increased, and we saw things change. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me or the leadership of this department to tell us how big of a difference that has made in the Civic Center Plaza, UN Plaza area. And we will continue to work hard to make sure that we sustain those efforts. We look forward this year, thanks to the budget that the mayor put forth, to 5 academy classes, which we think will help meet the needs of our growing city. And also, it'll help us continue our role to prevent crime instead of reacting to it. We also want to focus on education, specifically reaching out to the public to make our city more resilient, to make it hard for people to victimize people that come in our city or live in our city, particularly when it comes to property crime. We stepped up our Park Smart campaign this year, and we think that helped address the car break-ins. We were down significantly from the previous year, and the Park Smart campaign and just prevention and awareness, we believe, helped drive those numbers down. But we also have enforcement. We know that that's a part of law enforcement. We know that's a part of policing, particularly in the communities that are being targeted by predators. The mayor mentioned the Tenderloin. We are working very hard to arrest the dealers that are dealing in school zones where children are going to school and trying to get an education. We're working very hard to interrupt some of the street behaviors that we see that's associated with substance abuse. We want to intervene, and we want to get people help. The people that want it and people that need it, we want to get them help. So we're doing this from all levels, and we will continue to do that. We want to get the guns off of the streets, the methamphetamines, the heroin, the fentanyl, and all the other poisons that are really hurting our city. And we will do that in conjunction with the communities that we serve. A key component of our strategic plan, which drives how we address crime in our city, is collaboration with other city agencies, with federal agencies, with community partners. And moving forward to 2019, we will continue to collaborate with other city agencies, other federal agencies, and we will address the problems that we face in this city in a collaborative model. That is one of our strategic initiatives, and that's something that we are really focused on continuing to do. We know that that works as well. A good example of that is the LEAD, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. I see Mr. Adachi here. His office is a big part of that program, and it's our goal to help address substance abuse, not necessarily through arrest, but giving people an option to go to treatment through diversion before the case gets into the criminal justice system. We had 236 successful referrals to LEAD this past year. And we will continue to work that model, and it's really a good partnership and a collaborative model that's really good for our city. This will help improve public safety, reduce criminal behavior, and provide health and housing resources for those in the most need. Now, when you look at our CompStat report, you can see that we also had a few challenges. Burglaries were up for the year for 2018, and going into 2019, that will be a priority to make sure that we turn that around. We put a structure in place thanks to the people on the wall, Deputy Chief or Acting Assistant Chief Mike Redman, Deputy Chief Mannix, Deputy Chief Ali, Commander McEachran, Deputy Chief Connolly. We have put a structure in place to better address those type of crimes. Our Investigations Bureau has a burglary detail. Thanks to the mayor's leadership and the staffing, we hope to be able to increase that staffing to address the needs. But we know that's a challenge moving into 2019. We don't want to take a step backwards. We've done a good job this year, but there's a lot more work to be done, and we will work as hard as we can to continue to make our city a safe city. So with that, I would like to thank you for being here, and thank you for all of your support, because getting this information out to the public is one of the keys to being an aware city and a resilient city. So thank you.
We'll take a couple of quick questions, and then we can do some individual interviews afterwards. But if you have a question or two for the chief or the mayor.
Chief Henry Lee from KTV. I noticed that there's a jump in human sex trafficking crimes. Anything that you will address, any steps will take to address that?
Yeah, there is a jump, and we are actually looking at that very hardly. We believe two things. I mean, there's some things that happened over the past year. We increased the training to our patrol officers, which there was a lot more awareness, and we believe that caused some of the increase. We actually are looking at also the impacts of the closure of Red Book, which was one of the sites that kind of facilitated a lot of the activity, the prostitution activity. That closed down. We believe that drove more activity back on the streets. Those are some factors we're looking at, and also how we report. We believe that the increased training probably expanded the amount of cases that were actually recognized as human trafficking. And we wanted to make sure that we captured these crimes because it is a very serious issue in our city and in our country. So we are digging more into that to really have a clear understanding of where those numbers are coming from. But we believe that those are some of the factors at this point.
Your stats kind of focus on individual crimes, but are there any specific neighborhoods looking forward that you're trying to focus on? I know like Tenderloin, for instance, is really active on social media with things going on in their neighborhood. Are there any neighborhoods that you're trying to focus on moving forward?
Well, Tenderloin is a focus. They've done a great job. If you follow their Twitter site, posting some of the enforcement efforts. There's a lot of challenges in the Tenderloin community, and we've made that a priority. You know, the mayor has made it a priority. We've made it a priority. We've increased our footbeat staffing. We've really, at Tenderloin, we did good in a lot of crime categories, but there are a lot of challenges there, and a lot of them center around drug sales. You know, we have dealers on the streets, and as people go to and from, you know, what they do, work or, you know, leisure, they have to see that. As I mentioned earlier, you know, there are a lot of schools in Tenderloin, and Tenderloin has the highest concentration of families and kids in the city. We can't tolerate that, so that is a focus. We have property crime challenges in areas like Fisherman's Wharf. It is a high tourist area, a lot of property that people leave in their cars, and that's where the awareness and the prevention campaigns come in. We have violent crime in some of our communities, such as the Bayview with the gun violence. We've confiscated a lot of guns off of the streets this year, and the gun seizures were up. So we know that, you know, this city is composed of a lot of individual communities, and they each have a distinct character, and every community is different, and we have to address all of the needs. But the ones that I've mentioned are definitely a priority in terms of focus, particularly the Civic Center area. I mean, that is that's the hub of our city, and we really want to make sure that we do the best job we can to make sure that it's clean, it's safe, and that people can enjoy the beauty of our city.
Chief, some of us were out at the visitation valley last week. Your police union, Officer Montoya was there, and some of the community members were talking about those mobile units that the mayor mentioned, that if you can't get a substation, we really like that. Is that in the works either for there or for some of these other neighborhoods you've mentioned? I know you mentioned the Tenderloin, and they were saying the outer neighborhoods could benefit.
Well, the mobile units are just that. They're mobile, and we can move them around as we see a need to do that. We don't have an unlimited supply of mobile units. So really, for that particular crime, I mean, the most important thing, number one, is that officers are out patrolling the area. You know, that crime happened early in the morning. Officers need to be out there, and that in and of itself is a form of deterrence. If there's a need for a mobile command post, we meet regularly, the deputy chiefs and the assistant chiefs and I and the commanders, and talk about strategies of what's going to work. So it's not off the table. Right now, that mobile command post is still in Civic Center Plaza because there's still a need there. And the main thing is we need to catch the person that committed that crime and get them off the streets. I mean, that's the main thing, because we believe this is a one-off, but you know, people don't just wake up and beat 89-year-old women. That's just not something that people do. So that person needs to be removed from the streets, and the criminal justice system takes over from there. But you know, we have not taken that off of the table. But at this point, there's no command post there.
We'll take one more from Mike, and we'll wrap up. Mike?
You've said before that you doubled foot beats around the city. What do the numbers currently look like right now in terms of the officers who are out on the streets patrolling?
We're about 150 officers working foot beats, and that's give or take a few, but about 150 officers working foot beats. And sure, some of you may have read the report by the California Policy Lab that actually did a nice piece of research on our footbeat deployment and showed the positive impacts of footbeat. So we were really pleased with that. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you to read it, because all the numbers are in there in terms of the increase of deployment over the past year, and it really paints a good picture of why this is so important. So if you haven't read it, I would encourage you to read it, but it's a good piece of research and really speaks well for, as the mayor stated, and you will hear me state over and over again, the importance of foot patrol officers and foot beats.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.